This is Naomi, Nagata of the Rocinante. If you get this message, please retransmit. Tell James Holden I am in control. Please retransmit. After the fourth time, she took the length of steel spring she'd been using as a knife and cut the transmitter. Her false voice went dead. The acceleration gravity made her ankles and wrists feel unstable. The air in her suit didn't feel stale or close. The carbon dioxide scrubbers worked well enough on passive that she wouldn't feel the panic of asphyxiation. She'd just gently pass out and die. She popped the hatch open, ripped off her helmet, and sank down, gasping. Her vision narrowed, bright sparkles filling in her peripheral vision. She dry heaved once, paused, did it again, and let her body's weight sink deep into the deck below her. Tell James Holden I'm in control for some really broad definition of control, she thought and laughed. Then coughed until her ribs hurt even worse, then laughed again. Hey guys, Pete here. It's time to pick up where we left off in my last breakdown video and preview what might happen in episode 9. It's the penultimate episode of season 5, and things are lined up pretty closely with where things were at the end of the book Nemesis Games. We'll look at where the different characters are, some of the details that stand out and seem important, and just generally speculate on those things without delving into spoilers. That said, if you're not caught up, this video will contain spoilers. If you haven't seen the Expanse TV series through season 5 episode 8, then this video won't be for you. I'll be talking about the books but won't go into any future spoilers there. With all that out of the way, let's get started. Episode 8 laid some foundational blocks for half of the Rossi's crew in the way of character development, and it kind of leaned in the direction of Naomi's story with her being able to alter the message at the end in an attempt to warn Alex and Holden about trying to approach the Chetzemoka. Based on that, and the fact that the episode is titled Winnipesaukee, I'm guessing episode 9 will lean the other direction towards Amos. With Eric on board to help, their little group there should be on their way to New Hampshire, looking for a ride off the planet. Clarissa said the island was private enclaves for wealthy people, vacation houses that are mostly empty, with their own hangars with shuttles that they might be able to get to Luna with. Based on everything we've seen, this seems like the right plan. There's this helicopter thing in the background of the Eric scene, and I can't think of a reason why they would put that there if they weren't going to use it to get out of town. If that's the case, then getting there might be the easiest part of the plan, because if we think about how they got to this point, Clarissa is technically serving a life sentence. Amos is not Amos's real name. His identity's fake. That's how he got off Earth in the first place. Eric is the leader of a criminal gang, so they have to operate outside of the normal relief channels. They can't just go to a rescue camp or something along those lines. In a lot of ways, their predicament mirrors what Naomi's going through. They don't have a lot to work with, and even if they can make it to Luna, what happens then? We know that at least Baltimore and New York City are underwater. That would mean that you would imagine a lot of people are heading towards the moon, rich people especially, and Amos, Eric, and Peaches are planning on there being a shuttle when they get to this place. So we'll have to wait and see what's left by the time they get there. I do expect that we'll see that get wrapped up. Without giving away too much of what happens at the end of the book, I would just say that it seems more likely that we will wrap up Amos's trip to Earth before we see what happens with the Chetzemoka. There it feels like Naomi's mostly out of options. The small victory she won took a lot out of her, and she wasn't in great shape in the first place after doing the hard vacuum transit. Fighting against the acceleration gravity, scraping together the few bits and pieces that were left behind for tools, and then altering the message enough that it would be noticeable. It's a colossal accomplishment, so the question is, will it be enough? Through Karal and Oksana, we saw that when they heard it, they knew something was going on. They believe Naomi's dead, so Oksana instantly thought that maybe she was on the ship. We can imagine that the Razorback and the Rocinante will notice the change as well. But at this point, they don't really know anything about what's going on with Naomi, so it's hard to predict how they'll react. Marco's plan was to send this distress call from the Chetzemoka, which he sent in the general direction of the Rocinante. Remember, no one knows where Marco's at the moment, but he knows where the Rocinante is because he was watching as they were closing into the Zemea. Changing the message was all that she could do, but it's not an ideal solution. If you think about it from the perspective of the rescuers, hearing the change makes you think that there might be trouble, but that could just light a fire under them, making them feel more determined to get there and save her. Drummer would certainly have a different reaction, but she's got Karal on her ship to keep her in line. To think about what we saw happen within the drummer faction in the last episode, we saw that they were all having trouble with this new arrangement working for the Free Navy, but then they also had this moment with the spilled water that served to remind them about how much they care about each other. Drummer was having the most trouble even before she found out that Naomi was dead, and that set her into this rage spiral where she's in her cabin by herself drinking. Before everything got crazy, the last thing we heard that they were supposed to do was to meet up with the Cereal Mall and the Koto and go to Siri's station. Drummer agreed to that and seemed to be following orders, but that was before she almost pulled her gun and shot Karal on the bridge. So if we just look at all that, we take all of that into account, Drummer's hands are tied. She entered into this marriage with this crew, and one of their husbands is on Marco's ship. For the time being, I think this means that she can't do anything to Karal, because that would mean that her whole family would have to say, yeah, well, we don't really care about that guy over there because we need to get rid of her. They made the decision to follow the Free Navy because they thought it was their best chance at survival. Even if you kill Karal in the short term, what's going to stop Marco from chasing you down? We saw them in the last episode. They were scavenging the destroyed ships of one of the factions that went against him. So it is kind of hard to see how Drummer gets herself out of this. Oksana figuring out that Naomi's on the ship seems important, but it's still hard to see how they can move ahead to do anything about anything other than just do what the Free Navy tells them to do. And as far as what Marco himself is up to, that's a question as well. The last episode didn't really give much away. I mean, he's going to find out that Naomi's still alive too if Karal knows about it. But he was going somewhere in the Pella when he separated from the Chetzemoka, so that might not be his first priority. I did find it interesting that the ships that he was sending Drummer's faction to go meet with were the Cereal Mall and the Koto. In that earlier scene in the last episode where Karal was listening to a message and looking at the captain's chair, we heard that that was from the Cereal Mall and the Koto, and they're talking about them being duster ships. So these are Martian ships. Basically, these two ships that they're supposed to be going to meet with are similar to the Rocinante, which makes you think that they could just take Drummer out if they needed to. But as far as what Marco's up to himself, I'm not sure. I can't say that I caught anything that would definitely make me know where he's going or what he's doing. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about that in the comments, because I'm sure he's up to something. On Luna, we know that the new acting Secretary General is courting the idea of destroying Palace Station. Avasarala laid out some good reasons to not do that, mainly that it would fuel radicalization and make more people flock to the Free Navy for protection. And on the other side of things, Admiral Delgado gave him a fiery talk, laying out some reasons why he thinks they should wipe out the station. It certainly seems like Pastor is interested in doing something to strike back at the belt. In his office, he's reading what looks like attack scenarios on his hand terminal as Delgado comes in to talk, and he asked Delgado to come there. I'm not sure who all the people at the war meeting table were, but there seems to be a split between the diplomats and the military officers. You can kind of see where they're all coming from. You can kind of see why they would fall out in the way that they did. Killing civilians is bad, but Marco did start the conflict by doing exactly that. Based on what we've seen, it's hard to say which way he'll go, but both Delgado and Avasarala made well-articulated, passionate cases. And it seems to me that the Secretary General is leaning towards Delgado based on the timing of things and that last meeting. And I think that's about all there is to discuss. There are some unanswered questions going on. What happened to the protomolecule sample? Was it on that torpedo that looked to be burning away from the Zemea? I mentioned that I thought Monica was thinking about something. Maybe she'll go back and check the battle logs and see that one of the torpedoes took off. We haven't really heard anything about Mars. When the rocks hit, we heard that their Parliament building was attacked, but we haven't really had any follow-up on that. We did hear Avasarala say that they couldn't be trusted. She knows that the Free Navy's flying around in Martian ships, but hopefully we'll get some more of that soon. I'm interested to hear your speculation, so let me know in the comments. If you're going to use book spoilers, please mark them. We don't want anyone who's not read the books to get spoiled. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.